Recorded at Equip HNA 2024 in Louisville, Kentucky. Here's your host, SiteOne trainer, Shawn Sandink.
Hi, this is Shawn with SiteOne Landscape Supply, here with Daryl Prentice at the Equip Expo in Louisville, Kentucky. Daryl, welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. So Daryl, tell me about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do?
So we're from Knoxville, Tennessee. Small landscape operation, Knoxville Landscaping. We do mostly maintenance, working then to get more into the landscape side of it for
Like landscape construction side, or do you want to do more maintenance?
more maintenance type items. I really don't want to do any like the hardscaping or walls or stuff like that.
Okay. So what's on the menu right now? What maintenance? If I was to call you up and say, "Hey, Daryl, I want Knoxville Landscaping at my yard," what would you do for me today?
Right now we could do any of your mowing, hedge trimmings. We're going into leaf season, so we're going to be firing that up and doing fall cleanups and stuff. Hedge trimming, pretty much anything that needs.
That we need being done out in the yard.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And how long have you been with Knoxville Landscaping?
So Knoxville Landscaping, we've been a company for about a year. We've been in business for 6 years.
Okay.
About a year ago, we completely shut down the previous operation and had to start all over.
So take me from the beginning. So you're sitting there in high school, and is it your dream? Was this your goal? You wanted to be your own landscaping company, or how did life start out for you?
So I think it's with like a lot of the landscape guys. We started young. I started mowing in the neighborhood at 8 years old.
Awesome.
As an 8-year-old making $50 a week,
Right.
I'm top dog in the neighborhood because I've got all the money.
Okay.
Did it all through high school, on and off. Went and was a service advisor for a Ford dealership, a mechanic for a Ford dealership. And then I always had the dream to start my own business. I always wanted to be my own boss. Talked about it for years. And really it was my wife. She was like, "I'm tired of hearing about you wanting to do this. Just go do it."
Okay. So you had some support, some encouragement there.
So we just kind of jumped in. Didn't have the equipment, but I found a little cheap zero-turn mower, and I had a little cheap trailer, and I was using my wife's Explorer, and we just went out and started work.
And you did that together, you and your wife?
No, it was just me, and
Okay.
my 10-year-old at the time would actually come out and help and blow the sidewalks off
All right.
and do whatever he could as a 10-year-old.
Right, sure.
And he's always wanted to be with me. And then, so we kind of grew that, and then COVID happened.
Okay.
Um,
So you had a lawn care business. You were mostly doing lawn cutting, some lawn maintenance.
Yep.
And then COVID happened. What?
So COVID happened, and we had 10 or 15 clients. June of 2020, I was working as a service advisor, and they come up to me and they're like, "Hey, we got to let you go."
Oh, no.
So actually it was on a Friday.
So you were a service advisor for what type of industry?
It was for a Chevy dealership for
Okay.
automotive.
So you were doing the lawn care on the side.
Yep. After work on
Afterwards
weekends.
on weekends. Okay.
So that was on a Friday. So that, I come home and I told the wife, "Hey, I got let go." She's like, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "Well, Monday's my birthday." I said, "What better gift than to just jump in and go all in?"
Okay.
So in the middle of June, we had 15 clients, and I just went to work. Just strapped the boots up and went to work.
Nice.
By the end of the year, I had doubled my clients.
Excellent.
So I had 30 clients. It's very hard to get new clients in the middle of June.
Yes.
The following year, went full bore at it again as hard as we could. Doubled our clients again. Ended up with 60 clients. In our area, we don't get a lot of snow.
Okay.
So typically November we shut down. November, December we shut down.
Right.
So the Ford dealership that I I had left the Ford dealership, went to Chevy, and then the Ford dealership that I was working at called me up and was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, nothing. They're like, "Well, look, swing by here. We need to talk."
Okay.
So they come in and they promise me the world. We're going to pay you this much money. We're going to do all this. So I let all 60, 65 of my clients go
Gotcha.
in 2022. Worked there 2023. About halfway through 2023, I started seeing writing on the wall that this isn't going to work out. I wasn't happy.
Now, were you still taking care of your customers on the weekends and
Nope, I
stuff?
let it all go
So you let all that go. So you built it up,
and then tanked it all.
tanked it all. Now it's 2023. You're seeing the writing on the wall. What's happening?
So I see the writing on the wall, and our previous company name was just my last name.
Okay.
So it was Prentice Lawn Care.
Yep.
Sole proprietor. I figured out real quick that wasn't what you needed to do. So
Okay.
I did a quick search on our local government for Knoxville Landscaping. I was like, surely someone has this because we're Knoxville.
Right.
It was available. So I immediately got the LLC for Knoxville Landscaping,
Fantastic.
just because SEO type purposes and stuff like that.
Right.
And then I'm also thinking, if I want to build this big company and if my kids don't want it in 10, 15 years, I can sell it and someone can just overtake that name.
Yep.
So we completely started all over this year, right back from ground zero. And it's been interesting. I've learned a lot of.
Did you get rid of your equipment when you went back the first time?
I did not.
Okay, so you still had that.
I did keep all of my equipment, but just starting all over fresh. It's been a struggle. It's been rough, but we're out here killing it and making it.
Fantastic.
So
fantastic.
and our goal is $1 million within 5 years. That's in revenue. That's our goal.
So what do you see as your biggest challenges going forward? So you seem to be in growth mode. You rebuilt this company. You already did it once. Now you're coming back to do it again. What do you foresee as your biggest challenge going forward?
I think it's like with everyone. Labor.
Okay.
is difficult to get. It's not impossible. That's going to be a challenge for sure. And then just landscapers, we as a whole are kind of still in the Stone Age. We make everyone's house look pretty. We make everyone's business look pretty. But it's really hard to get it out there to the world because we're so busy doing all this. We don't have anyone to put it out on the internet for us. I think that's the biggest struggle that a lot of people have is getting the word out.
Right. How do you market?
How do you market? Because I can do any of the work, but if they don't know my name, I don't get the work. So I think that's the biggest struggle that we're having right now is just getting our name out there and making a presence to where putting our name in front of places that people are looking for us.
Right.
Whether it be Google, Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
So how are you getting your customers now?
So we
How did you get your last 5?
we got a website. I
Okay.
actually built my own website.
You did this yourself.
Did it myself.
Okay.
And I was able to, the CRM that we use
Right.
has a get a quote button so that you can put on your website. So you go onto the website and you can and it emails me directly. I get a lot of stuff through that. It comes right into the CRM. The customer puts all their information in there. I have all that information. I make a phone call. Hey, I got your information. I'll be out there on Tuesday to come take a look at it. Does that work for you? Yep. Perfect. And then we just did.
And that's been working?
Yeah, that's been working.
Well, that's fantastic.
So just people Google searching us and looking for landscapers, and everyone's like, I can't get anyone to answer the phone, and this was great because I could just get a hold of you, and you called me like within 10 minutes.
Wow.
So
Wow. So let's look at the movie, which has been Knoxville Landscaping. And all the adventures, the plot in it, you're growing your business. But there's one scene you want deleted because it's a decision you made that you wish you went the other way, or maybe you said something, or it's a customer situation gone wrong, a laborer situation gone wrong. Give me your worst day. What happened?
Well, there's been a couple. Probably the biggest one is I never should have folded the company to begin with.
Right.
'Cause I spent 5 years building that company, and then had to start over from scratch.
What did your wife say? Because she was a big supporter of you doing it the first time. And then when you went back, I'm just curious, how did that conversation go?
And she was like, "Are you sure you want to do this? This doesn't sound like something that you would want to do. Are you sure?" And I was like, "I think this is the right thing for us at the time."
Right.
I was not charging like I should have been, so we wasn't making the money that we should have been. Knowing that now, I see I was the low guy. I was the quote unquote chuck in the truck.
Gotcha. And now you see your value.
Now I see my value, and we've learned a lot, learned our budget, and we can actually be profitable.
Awesome.
And then other than that, my other biggest downfall is probably I do get these leads in and I miss some.
Uh-oh.
I'll call them, go out and take a look at it, even do all the steps, and then it just gets lost in the
Because you're busy.
because I'm busy. So, I'll remember about it in 2 weeks later, and I call the customer. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to follow up with you." And they're like, "Well, don't worry about it. We already got someone else."
Right.
So when you get those leads in, it's really important, I think, that if the follow through, you have to follow through. You're really good at calling people back right away when they're wanting to work.
Right.
But then you get kind of lax.
A little bit complacent.
And yeah. So that's my biggest thing that I have to work through.
So what could we do to help you? How could we put a process in place so that you don't miss one again?
I don't know. I think it's really working with some of the suppliers that we have. SiteOne is a great place. They're very knowledgeable. I've talked to several of them. Any questions I have, they're like, "Hey, let's build this together," and just kind of automating some of that stuff also.
Right.
And just software, I think, is a big thing to help you.
Does your CRM do a calendar reminder if you get a lead in that it sets at 72 hours? You've got to contact this person, or you've got to take some kind of action.
Unfortunately, ours doesn't.
Okay.
Not that I know of. It might. I just haven't found that feature.
Gotcha.
That would be a great thing to do, because if it's on my schedule.
Right. If it's on your schedule, you're going to do it.
Yeah. So I need to figure out a way to get it on my schedule that way.
Gotcha. Well, Daryl, I hope that works out for you and you find a process to be able to take that to the next level. I think you're going to be very successful, and I really thank you for your time
I
today.
appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Daryl.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for tuning in to Confessions of the Craft. Ensure you never miss an episode by subscribing to the podcast so you can be the first to hear new episodes and discover previous ones. Follow SiteOne on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn for the latest trends and industry updates.